Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, Canto 3, Chapter 33, Text 26.
We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam in case this is your first visit to the program. Welcome to Bhagavatam Bites. We've been going now for almost 3 years.
Yeah, since lockdown, March, April time.
Yeah, we'll have to
2020.
check out the actual date of the original one, first one. But yeah, it's like that. Almost 3 years we've been reading Bhagavatam, and we're just about to finish the third canto. Won't be a long night. So if you're just tuning in, welcome, and please go back and you can listen and watch as you go and keep up with the regular sessions. We're not basking in the sun. You can see there's a shadow on the wall here because the sun is beaming in through the window, which we weren't exactly expecting.
No.
It is so bright, but doesn't look like it, but there is some light coming in. Okay, so anyway, she just said we're reading from
Canto 3, Chapter 33, Text 26.
and it's long purport, so probably just one verse today. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Okay, verse 26. Her mind became completely engaged in the Supreme Lord, and she automatically realized the knowledge of the impersonal Brahman. As a Brahman realized soul, she was freed from the designations of the materialistic concept of life. Thus, all material pangs disappeared, and she attained transcendental bliss. The previous verse states that Devahuti was already conversant with the Absolute Truth. It may be questioned why she was meditating. The explanation is that when one theoretically discusses the Absolute Truth, he becomes situated in the impersonal concept of the Absolute Truth. Similarly, when one seriously discusses the subject matter of the form, qualities, pastimes, and entourage of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he becomes situated in meditation on Him. If one has complete knowledge of the Supreme Lord, then knowledge of the impersonal Brahman is automatically realized. The Absolute Truth is realized by the knower according to 3 different angles of vision, namely impersonal Brahman, localized Supersoul, and ultimately the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If one is situated therefore in knowledge of the Supreme Person, this implies that one is already situated in the concept of the Supersoul and impersonal Brahman.
I think she's situated in the impersonal Brahman. Merged right in.
This point is interesting. The explanation, it says the explanation is that when one theoretically discusses the Absolute Truth, he becomes situated in the impersonal concept of the Absolute Truth. So if you discuss like armchair philosophers or whatnot, it seems, yes, it's like this, and yes, these energies, yes, then you can understand on a certain limited level. But when you go further and start to discuss the form, pastimes, I thought it would have said when you go further to actually serve, then you can understand the personal form. But it's saying when you go on to discuss like the personal form and pastimes, qualities, then you become situated in the concept, understanding of the personal form. So, it's a bit blurred.
Well, I'm not sure if it's blurred. So it seems blurry for you, that's for sure. I guess what I understood from this is the Yeah, exactly what you said. Theoretically, when you just discuss theoretically, oh, it's like this, it is like that, it is, maybe it's like that, maybe it's like that, or I heard something here and there. And then that's generally, it sounds like the tendency will be to default to an impersonal understanding because it's not clear. So when it's blurry, it's unclear, and therefore you can't have clarity on the person. But when you hear about the person and his entourage and his form and his qualities, it becomes clear. And then that clarity becomes solidified as a person. So therefore it becomes personal. So that's how I kind of understood. Just that simple distinction.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if, there's also many other ways of seeing it. But this point is also brought up that if one understands the supreme personality of Godhead, then one automatically understands his Paramatma localized feature and the impersonal Brahman, which it feels like the impersonal Brahman is coming into this room and it's bouncing off the floor, and that's why it's kind of, you see, it looks like some light is shining on like a flashlight or something. So, but yeah, that's, anyways, a few thoughts there.
Okay, next paragraph.
In Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Brahmabhuta Prasanatma. This means that unless one is freed from the material entanglement and situated in Brahman, there is no question of entering into the understanding of devotional service or engaging in Krishna consciousness. One who is engaged in devotional service to Krishna is understood to be already realized in the Brahman concept of life, because transcendental knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead includes knowledge of Brahman. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Brahmano hi pratishtaham. The concept of the personality of Godhead does not depend on Brahman. The Vishnu Purana also confirms that one who has taken shelter of the all-auspicious Supreme Lord is already situated in the understanding of Brahman. In other words, one who is a Vaishnava is already a Brahmana. Because Brahmana means one who understands Brahman, or the Supreme, or the spiritual energy, or divinity. So one who already understands the Supreme Lord, he's naturally a Brahman. So a Vaishnava is automatically a Brahmana because he already understands Brahman, because he understands Krishna, the origin of Brahman. Brahmano hi pratishtaham. That Brahman effulgence emanates from me, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. But the first point, Prabhupada says that one has to first be situated in understanding Brahman before one can actually understand Krishna. Now, I'm not sure if that's an absolute statement or if the principle is there that in general one has to accept something spiritual. Because, of course, we understand bhakti is the process of, it's like the elevator versus the stairwell or the ladder. So one automatically goes from maybe even being a complete atheist to understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead just by the process of devotional service, which is what you were just saying. So Prabhupada, I thought it was interesting, Prabhupada kind of confirmed what you were saying, right? He says there is no question of entering into the understanding of devotional service or engaging in Krishna consciousness if one isn't freed from material entanglement. So, it says one who is engaged in devotional service to Krishna is understood to already have be realized in Brahman concept. So like that.
Confirmation. Next paragraph. Another significant point of this verse is that one has to observe the prescribed rules and regulations, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Yuktahara Viharasya. When one engages in devotional service in Krishna consciousness, he still has to eat, sleep, defend, and mate, because these are necessities of the body. But he performs such activities in a regulated way. He has to eat Krishna Prasad. He has to sleep according to regulated principles. The principle is to reduce the duration of sleep and to reduce eating, taking only what is needed to keep the body fit. In short, the goal is spiritual advancement, not sense gratification. Similarly, a sex life must be reduced. Sex life is meant only for begetting Krishna-conscious children. Otherwise, there is no necessity for sex life. Nothing is prohibited, but everything is made yukta, regulated, with the higher purpose always in mind. By following all these rules and regulations of living, one becomes purified, and all misconceptions due to ignorance become nil. It is specifically mentioned here that the causes of material entanglement are completely vanquished. Yes, as it says here, we don't just become like robots. We still need to engage in activities, eat, sleep, mate, defend, because you're in the body. But you just have to make sure you don't overdo it. It's like if you drive a car, you say, I'm so renounced, I'm so detached from this car, and I'm not going to therefore give it any petrol, I'm not going to clean it, or do an MOT or anything. But sooner or later you're going to come to a halt. So you do have to maintain the car, just as you sit in the car. So I'm a spirit soul sitting in the material body, and I've got to maintain it.
Nice. Yeah, and different vehicles take different types of petrol. Different amounts of petrol are used by different vehicles. Different types of oil, different types of fluids, and
yeah, bigger cars need more petrol, food, as it were, than smaller cars.
This sounds like a... Never mind. Yeah, and also this last point, just that, about yukta vairagya, or not yukta vairagya, but this yukta hara viharasya, that everything can be utilized. Well, actually, that verse in Bhagavad Gita is that one must be balanced. Yukta means balance. Everything is made yukta, regulated. So yukta hara viharasya, yukta chetasya karmasu, yukta swapna vibodasya, yukta chetasya, I can't remember the last word, yukta chetasya, anyway, if you know it, finish it. Karmasu, that's it, yukta chetasya karmasu. That eating, sleeping, work, and recreation, I think, are the four things. And it says that they must be regulated, they must be balanced. Means that if you eat too much, sleep too much, eat too little, or sleep too little, either will be a problem. So it's finding that balance, and believe you me, Mike, that is not an easy thing to figure out. Where is the balance, Because especially with eating or sleeping, sometimes we're prone to sleep too much, sometimes we're prone to sleep too little. And we fluctuate between the two, whereas we have to find that middle point. We were just hearing, right, one of the memories about Prabhupada, whenever he would arrive, and wherever in the world, after getting off a flight, he'd immediately say, what time is it? And he'd start his program according to whatever time it was there. So like, if it was like an hour before lunch, he'd be like, okay, let's go. I'm going to have a shower, and then I want lunch at the normal time. I'll have, or have a massage, or go for his morning walk. He'd be up in the middle of the night translating his books. But wherever he was, he would just start that program. And the devotees say they would be all off balance. Oh God, I'm so tired, this and that. And Prabhupada would just be like, boom, just right on the program. That's it. So it's very powerful.
Regulated.
The Sanskrit statement anartha nivritti indicates that this body is unwanted. We are spirit soul, and there was never any need of this material body. Oh, good. But because we wanted to enjoy the material body, we have this body. through the material energy under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As soon as we are reestablished in our original position of servitor to the Supreme Lord, we begin to forget the necessity of the body, and at last we forget the body. So that's a very opulent position to be in, where it's not artificial. We're not artificially renouncing the body. Bhog tyag, bhog tyag. Bhog means enjoy, tyag means renounce. It means that actually, genuinely, we're just like, oh my God, did I eat today? I've been so absorbed in the service of Krishna that I didn't even think about eating. You're like, oh my goodness, I definitely need to get more sleep tonight. I've just been so absorbed, or the body, So this slowly we forget about the luxuries or the pleasures or the enjoyments of the body because we're so absorbed in Krishna's service. That's why Raghunath Das, I think it's Raghunath Das Goswami, he used to eat only a little pat of buttermilk every other day. Hello. Okay. Any thoughts?
Sometimes in the dream, we get a particular type of body with which to work in the dream. I may dream that I'm flying in the sky or that I have gone into the forest or some unknown place. But as soon as I'm awake, I forget all these bodies. Similarly, when one is Krishna conscious, fully devoted, he forgets all his changes of body. You're always changing bodies beginning at birth from the womb of our mother. But when we are awakened to Krishna consciousness, we forget all these bodies. The bodily necessities become secondary, for the primary necessity is the engagement of the soul in real spiritual life. The activities of devotional service and for the Krishna consciousness are the cause of our being situated in transcendence. The words Bhagavati Atma Samsraya denote the personality of Godhead as the Supreme Soul, or the soul of everyone. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Bijam Mam Sarva Bhutanam, I am the seed of all entities. By taking shelter of the Supreme Being, by the process of devotional service, one becomes fully situated in the concept of the personality of Godhead. As described by Kapila, Madguna Shruti Matrena, one who is fully Krishna conscious, situated in the personality of Godhead, is immediately saturated with love of God, as soon as he hears about the transcendental qualities of the Lord. It's interesting, like it says, when you have a dream and as soon as you wake up, you forget those bodies. Sometimes if it's not a nice dream, it does linger a bit. And then I was hearing this lecture many years ago. That's why I can't tell you who gave the lecture. It might have been my spiritual master, actually, I don't know. But it might not have been. But it was like when you go back to the spiritual world and you wake up, it's like waking up from a dream. That's why I was relating it to this. And then you wake up from the dream and momentarily you're like, whoa. This I will explain, like you'll be like, whoa. Because all the kind of momentarily you kind of remember what you just went through to get there and what, and you're like, but it's like a dream. You kind of shake it off, and then whatever you're doing in the spiritual world where you went, because it's like a split second, you're like, when you wake up and initially you're like, oh, I had a bad dream, oh, it was really, but then you just get on with, oh, what's for breakfast, or I better get ready to go to work or whatever, like, so you go into that and you just go back into what you're doing in the spiritual world. But I always remember that I heard it, like maybe when I was first coming, and it was like that you wake up and you're like, what was that, and then you're like, okay, anyway, it was just like a dream, It's quite powerful.
Yeah, it's a nice analogy. I've heard that before also. I've heard it from different senior devotees as well. See? Devahuti was fully instructed by her son Kapila Dev on how to concentrate her mind on the Vishnu form in full detail. Following the instructions of her son in the matter of devotional service, she contemplated the form of the Lord within herself with great devotional love. That is the perfection of Brahman realization, or the mystic yoga system, or devotional service. At the ultimate issue, when one is fully absorbed in thought of the Supreme Lord and meditates on Him constantly, that is the highest perfection. Bhagavad Gita confirms that one who is always absorbed in such a way is to be considered the topmost yogi. Yoginam api sarvesham bhaktenantura atmanaha sharavam bhajate yomam same yuktatamo mataha. So Krishna says that one who is basically, completely sold out to me, serving me with mind fully attached, he's the greatest of all yogis, so like that. This is the way to become the highest yogi, and this is what Lord Kapila Dev gave to Mother Devahuti, the opportunity for this high level of pure devotional service.
All right, next paragraph. The real purpose of all processes of transcendental realization, Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, or Bhakti Yoga, is to arrive at the point of devotional service. If one endeavors simply to achieve knowledge of the absolute truth or the super soul, but has no devotional service, he labors without gaining the real result. This is compared to beating the husks of wheat after the grains have already been removed. Unless one understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be the ultimate goal, it is valueless simply to speculate or perform mystic yoga practice. In the Ashtanga Yoga system, the 7th stage of perfection is dhyana. This dhyana is the 3rd stage in devotional service. There are 9 stages of devotional service. The first is hearing, and then comes chanting, and then contemplating. By executing devotional service, therefore, one automatically becomes an expert jnani and an expert yogi. In other words, jnana and yoga are different preliminary stages of devotional service. It's true that if one endeavors simply to achieve knowledge of the absolute truth or the super soul, but he has no devotional service, then it's like fruitless, like we were saying in the beginning, and like we were saying in the other previous reading, or that you only enter into a real understanding of knowing someone when there's some like personal physical interaction.
Yeah.
So, otherwise you can know so much about them. Like I know so much about Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister. Well, something. I know more about him than he knows about me, obviously. But
that doesn't have anything to do with the person. You just said the whole thing about a personal interaction. What personal interaction have you ever had with Rishi Sunak?
May I finish my sentence?
Oh, I'm sorry, let me go and let you finish it.
So the point is that until I actually sit across the table with some Indian chai and parathas, I don't actually know the man. What I do know is what I read in the newspapers, or the whatever on the news, whatever, or people would say, but you get a real essence and feel of a person when you're in person and having some dialogue, what to speak of working with them, somehow serving them, doing something for them, and entering a less formal relationship and more an informal, just different degrees of relationship, then you really get to know someone. That was my point.
Okay. Very good. Last paragraph, because we're...
All right, wrap it up.
Devahuti was expert in accepting the real substance. She contemplated the form of Vishnu in detail as advised by her smiling son Kapila Dev. At the same time, she was thinking of Kapila Dev, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore she completely perfected her austerities, penances, and transcendental realization. There you go. So, Mother Devahuti achieved perfection by the mercy of Lord Kapila Dev, but also, as we spoke before, her life is certainly already perfected. Simply, the fact that God appeared as her son, what more perfection is required? But still, she spent time with him. He instructed her for our benefit, and here we are, recognizing the ultimate benefits of hearing about the Supreme Lord from a bona fide source. which is Srila Prabhupada, and the Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you all very much. Please continue to read Bhagavatam, and don't forget to like,
Comment,
subscribe.
share.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.